Hi, thank you for joining us today on the Fab After 50 Expert Interview Series. I have with me today Jill Ruddock. Hi, Jill.
Hi.
Hi, and Jill, you're the author, aren't you, of a book called The Second Half of Your Life, and obviously we want to discuss that a little bit here today. So first of all, perhaps we can talk about what prompted you to write this particular book when there are lots of books out there for menopausal women. What makes your book different?
Because my book isn't really about menopause. It's using menopause as the springboard to get to the best years of your life. Because one of the things that, first of all, the beginning of it was really to open up the dialogue about menopause, because I felt that this was like a secret for so many women. They didn't really understand what was going on. But then I found out through my research that something amazing happens to the female brain during menopause, and that is that we lose our progesterone and our estrogen, and we become testosterone dominant. And we all know what testosterone does for men in the first half of their lives. And so that really makes women focus more outside the home, more confident. And that's really why people say women get better with age, because it is a hormonal change that happens to women. And so when I figured that out, I could then write a book about successful aging. So the first part of the book is really about what I call my 5 a day, which I think is the root of successful aging. And we can get back to those in a second. And the second half of the book is really about the obstacles that we will all face. 1 or 2 of them, maybe all of them, maybe none of them, but probably 1 or 2 of them in the second half of our life. So it's really a manual for women to keep by their bed and refer to, much like we did when we were pregnant. We had that great book, What to Expect When We're Expecting.
As it happens, I have a friend who read the first edition of your book, and she said she keeps that in her bathroom, and every time she has a nice long soak in the bath, she opens up your book, and it somehow said it's a magic book. It always seems to open up at the chapter that she feels she needs to kind of have a little bit of help from on that day. So, yeah.
Well, that's exactly what we're hoping, because you know, besides the 5 a day, which I think is absolutely the fundamental in aging, and we can talk about that now if you'd like
to.
The first thing is to have a passion, and passion is something we do for ourselves. So whether it's learning another language, or reading all the books you want to read, or playing tennis, or playing ping pong, or whatever it is, it's something that you do for yourself. You have to have a passion. The second thing is to have a purpose, and purpose is something we do for other people. And that involves community, or people, our neighbors, but having a purpose greater than ourselves is so fundamental to the 5 a day. The third is exercise. And exercise is almost like a 3-for-1 deal. Keeps you strong, keeps the synapses moving, and now the latest research in dementia and Alzheimer's is that it actually may help to keep that at bay. So exercise is so important. The fourth thing is nutrition. Eat nutritionally, keep away from all the stuff that comes in nice plastic. And the fifth thing, which is the reason why I started the Second Half Center, which is really to make sure that we stay connected to our community and our friends and our family. And we all know that isolation is probably the cruelest thing we can do to each other. And so staying connected is the fifth thing.
All right. And I mean, of those 5, I mean, is there one that you say if people find it difficult? For instance, some people might say, well, I hate exercise. I mean, of the 5, is there one that you would pick out as being really key and address that one first and then address the 4 others? Is there a specific order?
Yes, I would say social isolation. You know, that's part of the reason why I've spent the last 4 years of my life creating this center in St. Charles in North Kensington, which is really to tackle social isolation, because I believe that aging is really the great equalizer. And it doesn't matter how rich or poor you are, doesn't matter how many degrees you are, have whatever it is. If you don't do those 5 a day, you will get sick before your time, and you will age before your time. But the big thing for me was bringing people together, sharing common interests, so that people find new friends and make new passions for themselves. And so tackling social isolation, I think, is 1, but 2 is exercise. But it doesn't mean that you have to be like really hard on yourself when you're exercising. If you walk to my center, which, you know, is a mile, 2 miles, that can be fantastic exercise, and walk with a friend and have a chat and whatever. So it doesn't mean that you have to be pumping iron and doing, an intense aerobics class. Just getting out there and moving and using your muscles is really important. That would be the second most important.
So like a question of sort of move it or lose it, really, isn't it? So as they say. Now, your centre, you said you've got a centre in London. I mean, how many people visit your centre on a regular basis?
500 a week.
Oh, really?
So we have,
I'm quite busy then.
Yeah. So it's heaving, and we have 70 hours of activities and 1,500 members. Actually, a little bit more than that now, and 500 people coming to the center each week. So we know that we have a good model for aging, and we'd like to replicate it and template it throughout London and the UK.
I was going to ask you what your plans were for expanding that. So it's very much London now. And how quickly would you see yourself rolling that centre out into other venues?
We would have a new model to do that. So it won't be the model that we created at St. Charles, which Open Age now runs. It would be much more community-based in churches and synagogues, where people would be volunteering to run these centers. And we probably only do 1 day a week.
Right.
And let somebody else do the other days, but 1 day a week would be for older people.
Right. Now, obviously, we talk about the second half. When it comes to your centres, at what age would your people come along? At what age would it start, and what age do your attendees go up to?
Okay, so when I wrote the book, the reason why I could write the book and call it the second half of your life is because the average age that a woman goes through menopause is 51.2 years. Now, if you look at the latest research from Oxford Institute of Aging, they'll say that if you're healthy today at 50, you're going to live to be 100, and that's just average. So it was very easy for me to call this the second half of your life. Now, as far as the center, it's for over 50s, but the average age is 78. And we have 70% women and 30% men. Right.
It's interesting you talk about really being the second half living to be 100. That's certainly a theme we frequently talk about on the website, in as much as 50 years of your life is far too many years to consider being written off. And certainly I think your book supports that, doesn't it? How we have to be so active in the various areas of our life.
Yes, it's very, one of the things that I think is very important is the question of, do we ever retire, and do we want to retire? And I think that the longer we keep at it, and the longer we keep doing something that engages us, both our mind and our spirit, and keeps us in a community, then I think, why should we ever retire?
Absolutely. Now, I mean, am I right in thinking that the proceeds of your book, the profits of your book, are actually going to support the foundation and the centres?
100% of my proceeds, not Random House, but 100% of my proceeds go to fund the foundation's work.
Right. And can we talk? And I think you've got a copy of your book there, haven't you? That we can
do.
Just show.
Here we go. This is the new mass market paperback edition. Coming out on March 12th. It will be at your local bookstores, but also on Amazon and on Kindle.
Oh, right, okay.
So you can download it onto your iPad, or you can go and purchase it on Amazon or your local bookstore.
And as you said earlier, it's the sort of book you don't have to necessarily read from cover to cover in one go, but it really is one you can dip in and dip out of the various chapters, can't you?
Yes. Yes. And I think if you have a particular interest in something, whether it's dating again, or looking your best without plastic surgery, or finance, or separation and divorce, whatever it is that's affecting you at that moment, or going back to work, or whatever it is, there's something for you to look at. But I think the first half of the book will hopefully inspire people to read more about the second half of your life, but also to understand that what is necessary for successful aging.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share that with us today, Jill. And I look forward to reading this edition with the previous one. And thank you very much for spending that time with us.
Thank you. You're the best.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.